Kindly describe how the proportionate accumulation of the reactions resulting from the different modes of material nature act upon the desiring living being, promoting or degrading him among the different species of life, beginning from the demigods down to the most insignificant creatures. These desires to enjoy exist in a dormant form amongst the jivas. These jivas experience results to pious activities, impious activities, activities of jnana, yoga, bhakti. So how do all of them fructify? Manushye cha कर्मज्ञानादिषु कः कः अधिकारी कथं किं किं कृत्वा किं किं साध्यं प्राप्नोति इति अर्थः. Amongst human beings, who is eligible for karma, jnana, and so on, and how is it that he executes particular activities and he attains particular results? Prashnoyam karma mishra jnana mishra yoga mishra shuddha bhaktishu paryapnoti iti. This question comes within the scope of karma mishra bhakti, jnana mishra bhakti, yoga mishra bhakti, and shuddha bhakti. The actions and reactions of all worlds in the material modes of nature, either in the minute form or in the gigantic form, are accumulated. And thus, the result of such accumulated actions and reactions of karma or work become manifested in the same proportion. How such actions and reactions take place, what the different procedures are, and in what proportion they act, are all subject matters of Maharaj Parikshit's inquiries from the great Brahmana, Shukadeva Goswami. Life in the higher planets, known as the abodes of the denizens of heaven, is obtained not by the strength of spacecraft, as is now being contemplated by the inexperienced scientists, but by works done in the mode of goodness. Even on the very planet where we are living now, there are restrictions upon the entrance of foreigners into a country where the citizens are more prosperous. For example, the American government has many restrictions for the entrance of foreigners from less prosperous countries. The reason is that the Americans do not wish to share their prosperity with any foreigner who has not qualified himself as a citizen of America. Similarly, the same mentality is prevailing in every other planet where there are more intelligent living beings residing. The higher planetary living conditions are all in the mode of goodness. And anyone desiring to enter the higher planets like the moon, sun, and Venus must qualify thoroughly by activity in complete goodness. Maharaj Parikshit's inquiries are on the basis of proportionate actions of goodness which qualify one in this planet to be promoted to the highest regions of the universe. Even on this planet of our present residence, one cannot achieve a good position within the social order without being qualified with proportionate good work. One cannot forcibly sit on the chair of a High Court judge without being qualified for the post. Similarly, one cannot enter into the higher planetary systems without being qualified by good works in this life. Persons addicted to the habits of passion and ignorance have no chance of entering the higher planetary systems simply by an electronic mechanism. According to the statement of the Bhagavad Gita 9.25, persons trying to qualify themselves for promotion to the higher heavenly planets can go there. Similarly, persons trying for the Pitrilokas can go there. Similarly, persons trying to improve the conditions on this earth can also do that. And persons who are engaged in going back home, back to Godhead, can achieve that result. The various actions and reactions of work in the mode of goodness are generally known as pious work with devotion service. culture of knowledge with devotional service, mystic powers with devotional service, and at last, devotional service unmixed with any other varieties of goodness. This unmixed devotional service is transcendental and is called Parabhakti. It alone can promote a person to the transcendental kingdom of God. Such a transcendental kingdom is not a myth, but is as factual as the moon. One must have transcendental qualities to understand the kingdom of God and God Himself. It's 15. Bhupatala Kakavyoma Graha Nakshatra Bhubhrutam Sarit Samudra Dvipanam Sambhavaschaitadokasam. O best of the Brahmanas, please also describe how the creation of the globes throughout the universe, the four directions of the heavens, the sky, the planets, the stars, the mountains, the rivers, the seas, and the islands, as well as the different kinds of inhabitants, takes place. Puradinam बहुविध भक्त आस्पदत्वात् उकसां च प्रायः अधिकृतादि भक्तत्वात् प्रश्नोऽयं भक्तेषु पर्याप्नोति because Bhur and other planets are residences for different types of Haribhaktas, devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And because the residents of those planets are almost always officiating devotees of the Supreme Lord, etc. Therefore, this question comes within the scope of a discussion of the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The inhabitants of different varieties of land, etc., are differently situated, and not all of them are equal in all respects. The inhabitants of the land are different from the inhabitants of the water or the sky. And similarly, the inhabitants of the different planets and stars in the sky are also different from one another. By the laws of the Lord, no place is vacant, but the creatures of one particular place are different from those of other places. Even in human society, the inhabitants of the jungles or the deserts are different from those of the cities and villages. They are so made according to the different qualities of the modes of nature. Such adjustment by the laws of nature is not blind. There's a great plan behind the arrangement. Maharaj Parikshit requests the great sage Shukadeva Goswami to explain all these subjects authoritatively in accordance with proper understanding. Text 16. Pramanam Andakoshasya Bahyabhyantara Bhedatah Mahatam Chanucharitam Varnashramavya. Also, please describe the inner and outer space of the universe by specific divisions, as well as the character and activities of the great souls, and also the characteristics of the different classifications of the castes and orders of social life. Another addition to counter check. Bhagavad Kuksho Santi. He's asking about the measurement of the universe, universes, several universes. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, in the sort of bhakti which is predominated by Aishwarya, then this question arises. How many of the Brahmandas are present in the womb of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? The entire Mahatattva is considered to be inside the Supreme Lord, as seen by Markandeya Rishi. Regarding Varnashama Dharma, regarding the question on Varnashama, but the duties of the Varnashama system are perfected only when mixed with bhakti. Is that so? So this question comes within the scope of Karma Mishra and Jnana Mishra Bhakti. Maharaj Parikshit is a typical devotee of Lord Krishna, and as such, he is anxious to know the complete significance of the creation of the Lord. He wants to know the inner and outer space of the universal form. It is quite fitting for the real searcher of knowledge to know all about this. Those who are of the opinion that the devotees of the Lord are satisfied with mere sentiments can find in the inquiries of Maharaj Parikshit good lessons as to how inquisitive a pure devotee is to know things in their true perfection. The modern scientist is unable to know about the inner space of the universal horizon and what to speak of the space which covers the universe. Maharaj Parikshit is not satisfied with only material knowledge. He is inquisitive about the character and activities of the great souls, the devotees of the Lord, the glories of the Lord, and the glories of his divinity and devotees combined together comprise the complete knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Krishna showed his mother the complete universal creation within his mouth, while she, completely charmed by her son, wanted to look inside the mouth of the Lord just to see how much earth the child had eaten. By the grace of the Lord, the devotees are able to see everything in the universe within the mouth of the Lord. The very idea of the scientific divisions of four classes of human society and four orders of life is also inquired about herewith on the basis of individual personal quality. The four divisions are exactly like the four divisions of one's personal body. The parts and parcels of the body are non-different from the body, but by themselves they are only parts. That is the significance of the whole system of whole scientific system of four castes and four spiritual orders. The value of such scientific divisions of human society can be ascertained only in terms of the proportionate development of devotional service to the Lord. Any person employed in government service, including the president, is a part and parcel of the entire government. Everyone is a government servant, but no one is the government himself. That is the position of all living entities in the government of the Supreme Lord. No one can artificially claim the supreme position of the Lord, but everyone is meant to serve the purpose of the Supreme Whole. Text 17. Yugani yugamanam cha dharmo yascha yuge yuge avataranu yat ascharyat tamam hare. Please explain all the different ages in the duration of the creation and also the duration of such ages. Also tell me about the different activities of the different incarnations of the Lord in different ages. Hare Shri Krishnasya Avataranam Anucharitam. He's asking about the different incarnations of Lord Shri Krishna. Gavataranam tat pravartita bhakti visheshanam cha jigyasaya. In Parikshit is inquiring about the specific types of devotional service that are propagated by the different incarnations who appear during different yugas. Lord Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. And all the incarnations of the Supreme Lord, although non-different from him, are emanations of the Supreme. Maharaj Parikshit inquired from the great and learned sage Shukadeva Goswami about the different activities of such incarnations, so that the incarnation of the Lord might be confirmed by his activities in the authoritative scriptures. Maharaj Parikshit was not to be carried away by the sentiments of the common man to accept an incarnation of the Lord very cheaply. Instead, he wished to accept the incarnation of the Lord by symptoms mentioned in the Vedic literatures and confirmed by an Acharya like Shukadeva Goswami. The Lord descends by his internal energy without any obligation, the laws of material nature. Thus, his activities are also uncommon. The specific activities of the Lord are mentioned. One should know that the activities of the Lord and the Lord himself are identical due to being on the absolute plane. Thus, to hear the activities of the Lord means to associate with the Lord directly. And association with the Lord directly means purification from material contamination. We already discussed this point in the previous canto. Text 18. Nanam sadha rano dharma sa visheshascha yadrisha Reninam rajarshinam cha dharma krichreshu jivatam. Please also explain what may generally be the common religious affiliation of human beings, as well as their specific occupational duties in religion, the classification of the social orders, including the administrative, royal orders, and the religious principles for which one may be in distress. Tavisheshaha varnashrama nibandhanaha. The specific duties are in relationship to the varnas and ashramas. Shreni Nam refers to those who survive on the basis of various commercial activities. The Rajarshis are the ones who are eligible to protect the offspring, those who are born in the kingdom. Nirnam antyaja paryantanam api sadharana dharmo bhaktireva. The duty that is common to all human beings up to the antyajas is nothing but Hari Bhakti, Krishna Bhakti. Vishesha dharmas tad jati dharma iti tad dharma vatvepi te bhakta bhavanti. Kirata punandra pulinda pulkasha ityadi. And then you have specific duties, savisheshaha, specific duties. These are the duties pertaining to their jatis. So if they simply carry out these duties, then they will become devotees of the Lord. Because it is stated in 2.4.18 that all these kiratas, punas, andras, pulindas, pulkashas, all of them can become devotees if they surrender to a devotee of Lord Vishnu. एवं श्रेणीनाम तत्तद व्यवसाय उपजीविनाम राजसीनाम चेति तेषु अपि भक्तिमत्सु निरपराधया एव सातव्यम् इति विवक्षाया. That is the case with those who survive on the basis of commercial activities, as well as the Rajarshis. This is an indication that all of them should situate themselves in offenseless devotional service to Lord Vishnu. Kshreshu jivatam dharma iti apad dharma prashna sarvavidha bhakto paryapnoti. The religious principles for one who may be in distress refers to dharma in crisis. This falls within the scope of all different types of devotional service. All different types of devotional service means Bhakti Mishra Karma, Bhakti Mishra Jnana, Bhakti Mishra Yoga, Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, Yoga Mishra Bhakti, and Shuddha Bhakti. Gunibhuta Bhakti, Pradhanibhuta Bhakti, Kevala Bhakti. The common religion of all classes of human beings, regardless of whosoever and whatsoever one may be, is devotion service. Even the animals may be included in devotion service to the Lord, and the best example is set by Sri Gauranga or Hanuman, the great devotee of Lord Sri Ram. As we have already discussed, even the aborigines and cannibals can also be engaged in the devotion service of the Lord if they happen to be under the guidance of a genuine devotee of the Lord. In the Skanda Purana, there's a narration that a hunter in the jungle became the most enlightened devotee of the Lord by the guidance of Sri Narada Muni. Therefore, devotion service to the Lord can be equally shared by every living being. The religious affiliation in terms of different countries and cultural circumstances is obviously not the common religion of the human being. Rather, the basic principle is devotion service. Even if a particular type of religious principle does not recognize the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the followers still have to obey the disciplinary principles laid down by a particular leader. Such a leader of a religious sect is never the supreme leader because such a circumstantial leader comes to the position of leadership after undergoing some penance. The Supreme Personality of Godhead does not, however, require to be under disciplinary action to become leader, as we see in the activities of Lord Krishna. The occupational duties of the castes and the orders of society, following the principles of livelihood, also depend on the principle of devotion service. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that a person can achieve the highest perfection of life simply by awarding the results of his occupational duty under the devotion service of the Lord. Sve sve karmanyabhirata, that verse in 18th chapter. People following the principles of devotional service to the Lord can never be put into difficulty, and thus there cannot be any question of apadharma or religion in distress. As will be explained in this book, by the greatest authority, Srila Shukadeva Goswami, there is no religion save and except the devotional service of the Lord, though this may be presented in different forms. When it says there cannot be any question of apadharma or religion in distress for the devotees of the Lord, it simply means that the sort of dharma which is commonly known as apadharma in the Dharma Shastras, that does not apply. That will also come in Bhagavatam, that will also be mentioned. That does not apply to those who have surrendered themselves unto the Supreme Lord and who are executing Kevala Bhakti. For them, there's a different type of apadharma that is taken into consideration by the Lord. Achyutanam Prabhu.
Prabhu, does this apadharma also include the modern day Islam or Christianity?
No, apadharma is duties to be executed in crisis. What should a Brahmana do if nobody finances him? So it has become a life crisis for him and his family. So the Dharma Shastras say what should be done. Like that. Apadharma is a whole section. Text 19. Tattvanam parisankhyanam. Lakshanam hetu lakshanam. Purusharadhana vidher. Yogasya adhyatmikasya cha. kindly explain all about the elementary principles of creation, the number of such elementary principles, their causes and their development, and also the process of devotion service and the method of mystic powers. Where can we find about Apad Dharma? Mahabharata Shanti Parva has got three divisions. One is called Raja Dharma, another is called Apad Dharma, another is called Moksha Dharma. So in that Apad Dharma section, the rules for crisis come there. But they're also spelled out in the Dharma Shastras in different places, one will find. पुरुष आराधनस्य विधिः देवपूजा प्रकार. The rules and regulations for engaging in worship of the Supreme Lord. Ashtanga Yogasya cha vidhiः, and also the rules and regulations for Ashtanga Yoga. He's asking about all of it. Okay, Purushavatara Leelayam Yogasya iti. Okay, there are questions about elementary principles of creation, the number of elementary principles, their causes, their development. These are all pertaining to the pastimes of the Purushavataras. Yogasya Adhyatmikasya cha refers to Yoga Mishra Bhakti. Purusha Aradhana Vidhi naturally falls into Bhakti. It's not mentioning that. Yogeshwaraishwarya Gatir Linga Bhangastu Yoginam Vedopaveda Dharmanam Itihasa Purana Yoga. What are the opulences of the great mystics? And what is their ultimate realization? How does the perfect mystic become detached from the subtle astral body? What is the basic knowledge of the Vedic literatures, including the branches of history and the supplementary Puranas? Yogeshwarana Aishwaryana Animadi Na Archaradi Gatihi. How does one travel through the Archaradi pathway? Specifically, this is a question about the masters of yogic powers, such as Anima. The Vedic literatures here refer to Rig Veda and so on. Upavedas are Ayurveda and so on. Then religiosities refer to Dharma Shastras. We're also asking about the Itihasas and Puranas. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur notes that Yogeshwaranam Shambhu Prabhutina Mahanubhava Bhaktanam Aishwarya Rupa Yagati. The question, what are the opulences of the great mystics? And what is their ultimate realization pertains to the great masters of mystic yoga such as Lord Shambhu. These are all very greatly experienced devotees. So their ultimate destination is certainly one of opulence. How does the perfect mystic become detached from the subtle astral body? This is pertaining to Shanta Bhakti. The question about the Vedas actually pertains to the purport of uh, all these Vedic literatures. Tacha bhaktireva iti bhaktau. And that purport of all these Vedic literatures is nothing but devotional service to Lord Vishnu. So these are all connected to devotional service. Some question. Yes.
How devotional services common religious principle for everyone? Does it mean that everyone, because it is open for everyone, that's why?
It is meant to be executed by every human being. Devotional service to Lord Vishnu is meant to be executed by every human being. In the seventh canto, we'll come across this.
But then we see people not executing it, or then they may be following other, like in modern day, so many religious concepts are there.
They have to
So should
execute
we preach and
Shravanam,
bring them to this,
Kirtanam,
or they are supposed
Smaranam,
to come
and so
independently?
on to Lord Vishnu, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That Supreme Personality of Godhead may be referred to by different names in different places and different countries. That is not the point. If they identify that person in the same way we identify Lord Vishnu, the cause of the creation, maintenance, and annihilation, the all pervading singular controller of everything that exists, and so on, then we understand that they are talking about the same person. So they have to execute devotional service to that person. That is the point.
Okay, so
The Yogeshwara or the master of mystic powers can exhibit 8 kinds of wonders of perfection by becoming smaller than the atom or lighter than a feather, getting anything and everything he desires, going anywhere and everywhere he likes, creating even a planet in the sky, etc. There are many Yogeshwaras having different proficiencies in these wonderful powers. And the topmost of all of them is Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is the greatest yogi. He can perform such wonderful things far beyond the ordinary living beings. The devotees of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, do not directly practice the process of mystic powers. But by the grace of the Lord, his devotee can defeat even a great Yogeshwara like Durvasa Muni, who picked a quarrel with Maharaj Ambarish and wanted to show the wonderful achievements of his mystic powers. Maharaj Ambarish was a pure devotee of the Lord, and thus, without any effort on his part, the Lord saved him from the wrath of Yogeshwara Durvasa Muni. And the latter was obliged to beg pardon from the king. Similarly, at the time of Draupadi's precarious position, when she was attacked by the Kurus who wanted to see her naked in the open assembly of the royal order, the Lord saved her from being stripped by supplying an unlimited length of sari to cover her. And Draupadi knew nothing of mystic powers. Therefore, the devotees are also Yogeshwaras by the unlimited power of the Lord. Just as a child is powerful by the strength of the parents, children do not try to protect themselves by any artificial means, but are saved by the mercy of the parents. Maharaj Parikshit inquired from the learned Brahmana Shukadeva Goswami about the ultimate destination of such great mystics, or how they attain such extraordinary powers by their own efforts or by the grace of the Lord. He inquired also about that detachment from the subtle and gross material bodies. He inquired also about the purports of the Vedic knowledge, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 15.15. The whole purport of all the Vedas is to know the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus become a transcendental, loving servant of the Lord. Text 21. Samplavas sarvabhutanam vikramah pratisankramah ishtapurtasya kamyanam trivargasya chaivo vidhi. Please explain unto me how the living beings are generated, how they are maintained, and how they are annihilated. Also tell me what is advantages and what is disadvantages for discharging devotional service unto the Lord. What are the Vedic rituals and injunctions of the supplementary Vedic rites? And what are the procedures of religion, economic development, and sense satisfaction? Samplava refers to intermediate dissolution. Otherwise, it refers to complete devastation, which means this is generation, the beginning. Vikrama then refers to maintenance. Pratisankrama will then refer to great dissolution. Ishtam refers to Vedic pious deeds from the Shruti. Purtam refers to pious deeds from the Smriti, from the Dharma Shastras. Vapi, Pupa, Tadagadi, Devata, Yatananicha, Annapradhanamara, Parama, Purtam Nityabhidiyate. To construct lakes, wells, tanks, temples for worshipable deities and so on. To bestow food to the hungry. To construct gardens. All of these are indicated by the word purta. The processes of kamya karma, such as Agnihotra. That is also being asked here. Trivargasya dharmartha kamasya vidhihi avirodha prakaraha. The rules pertaining to Trivarga. Trivarga means dharmartha kama. That means, how does one execute the principles of dharma and artha and kama in such a manner that none of the three are disturbed? These are all very, very important considerations in Vedic culture. What is this verse number 21? Samsara Sindhos Taranasara. Chaitanya Thakur interprets Samplava to mean what is the best means to cross over the ocean of material existence, because plava can also mean a boat. Vikrama means prowess. So what is prowess in crossing over the ocean of material existence? Pratisankrama. What exactly is destruction in that regard? Iti bhakter anukula pratikula vastu jigyasaya. This is involved whatever is favorable or unfavorable in the process of bhakti. That is what is asked here. What is advantageous, what is disadvantageous for discharging devotional service to the Lord? The question about Vedic karma or pious activities of the Smritis and so on, they come within the scope of Karma Mishra Bhakti. On Radha.
So in my edition book, it is written, tell me also of the advantages and disadvantages of discharging devotional service.
I did not hear your question. Say again loudly.
Oh. So in my edition of this Bhagavatam translation, it says, Tell me also of the advantages and disadvantages of discharging devotional service unto the Lord.
What is here? What is advantages and what is disadvantages for discharging devotional service?
It's opposite, no? It is like advantages and
No,
disadvantages
this is correct because there's nothing disadvantageous in devotional service. So this is actually a question about what is advantages for discharging devotional service, what is disadvantages for discharging devotional service. This is correct. This is correct.
So this is wrong, no? What is there in book in translation?
Yeah, that should be correct. Let me check in online database what it says. This is 2.8.21. Here also it says, tell me also of the advantages and disadvantages of discharging devotions. No, it is wrong. Advantages and disadvantages for discharging devotion service. What is favorable for devotion service? What is unfavorable for devotion service? That is the question here. The word samplava, in the sense of perfect means, is employed to denote the discharging of devotion service, and pratisankrama means just the opposite, or that which destroys the progress of devotion service. One who is firmly situated in the devotion service of the Lord can very easily execute the functions of conditional life. Living the conditional life is just like flying a boat in the middle of the ocean. One is completely at the mercy of the ocean. And at every moment, there is every chance of being drowned in the ocean by slight agitation. If the atmosphere is all right, the boat can fly very easily, undoubtedly. But if there is some storm, fog, wind, or cold, or cloud, there is every possibility of being drowned in the ocean. No one can control the whims of the ocean. However, one may be materially well equipped. One who has crossed the oceans by ship may have sufficient experience of such dependence upon the mercy of the ocean. But one can fly over the ocean of material existence by the grace of the Lord very easily without any fear of storm or fog. It all depends on the will of the Lord. No one can help if there is some unfortunate danger in the state of conditional life. The devotees of the Lord, however, cross the ocean of material existence without anxiety, because a pure devotee is always protected by the Lord. 9.13. The Lord gives special attention to his devotees in their activities within material conditional life. 9.29. Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, everyone should take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord and be a pure devotee of the Lord by all means. One should know, therefore, from the expert spiritual master, the advantages and disadvantages conditions for discharging devotional service. Right. Here also, let me have a look in online database. One should know, therefore, from the expert spiritual master, the advantages and disadvantages of discharging devotion. Again, this is wrong. It cannot be disadvantages of discharging devotion. There is no disadvantage in discharging devotion service. This is correct. For discharging devotion service. Just as Maharaj Parikshit asked his spiritual master, Srila Shukadeva Goswami, according to the Bhakti-vaibhava Sindhu, the science of devotion service, one should not eat more than what he requires to maintain body and soul together. This is the second 20. The first 10, no, the second 10. The first 10, then the second 10, and then you have 39 and then 5. This is how the 64 items of sadhana bhakti are spelled out in the first part of Bhakti-vaibhava Sindhu. So the first part is everything that is favorable for devotion service. The second, that is the first 10. Then you have the second 10, everything that is unfavorable or disadvantageous. So if we execute Panchanga Bhakti along with that which is disadvantageous, then we will go nowhere. That is the point. So in that, all these things also come. Another place is where this comes up is in Upadeshamrita also. Upadeshamrita also talks about 6 activities by which bhakti is spoiled, 6 activities by which bhakti fructifies. According to the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the science of devotion service, one should not eat more than what he requires to maintain body and soul together. Vegetable diets and milk are sufficient for maintenance of the human body, and therefore one has no need to eat anything more to satisfy the palate. One should also not accumulate money to become puffed up in the material world. One should earn his livelihood easily and honestly, for it is better to become a coolie for an honest livelihood than to become a great man in society by hook and crook. There is no harm if one becomes the richest man in the world by honest dealings, but one should not sacrifice the honest means of livelihood simply to accumulate wealth. Such an endeavor is harmful to devotion service. One should not talk nonsense. A devotee's business is to earn the favor of the Lord. Therefore, a devotee should always glorify the Lord in his wonderful creations. A devotee should not decry the creation of the Lord, defying him by saying that he has created a false world. The world is not false. Actually, we have to take so many things from the world for our maintenance. So how can we say that the world is false? Similarly, how can one think of the Lord as being without form? And how can one become formless and at the same time have all intelligence and consciousness, direct and indirect? So there are many things for a pure devotee to learn, and he should learn them perfectly from a bona fide personality like Shukadeva Goswami. The favorable conditions for discharging devotion service. Let me look here. Here in online database, it says the favorable conditions for discharging devotion. Correct. For. Before only. Or that one should be very enthusiastic in serving the Lord. This is straight from Upadeshamrita. Saha. The Lord, in his form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, wanted the cult of devotion service to the Lord to be preached all over the world in every nook and corner. And therefore, a pure devotee's duty is to discharge this order as far as possible. Every devotee should be very enthusiastic, not only in performing his daily rituals of devotion service, but in trying to preach the cult peacefully by following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya. If he is not superficially successful in such an attempt, he should not be deterred from the discharge of his duty. Success or failure has no meaning for a pure devotee because he's a soldier in the field. Preaching the cult of devotion service is something like declaring war against materialistic life. So just like in the war, a country sends soldiers to fight. If they win and come back alive, then they are honored with medals. If they die in the battle, then still they are honored. In either case, it is a success for them. Like that. There are different kinds of materialists, such as the fruity workers, the mental speculators, mystic jugglers, and so many others. All of them are against the existence of Godhead. They would declare that they are themselves Godhead. They are themselves God, although in every step, in every action, they are dependent on the mercy of the Lord. Therefore, a pure devotee may not associate with such gangs of atheists. So we are not supposed to engage in the 6 items of association with them. This dadati pratigrahani, rukhyamakhyati, hinte bhojete chaiva, shadvidam priti lakshana. A strong devotee of the Lord will not be misled by such atheistic propaganda of the non-devotees, but a neophyte devotee should be very cautious about them. A devotee should see to the right discharge of devotion service under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master and should not stick only to the formalities. Under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master, one should see how much service is being executed and not simply in the matter of rituals. A devotee should not hanker after anything, but he should be satisfied with things that may automatically come to him by the will of the Lord. That should be the principle of a devotional life. And all these principles are easily learned under the guidance of a spiritual master, like Shukadeva Goswami. Maharaj Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva correctly, and one should follow his example. Maharaj Parikshit inquired about the process of creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material world, the process of Vedic rituals, and the method of executing pious activities in terms of the supplementary Vedas like the Puranas and Mahabharata. As explained before, the Mahabharata is the history of ancient India, and so also are the Puranas. Pious acts are described in the supplementary way as Smritis, which specifically mention digging tanks and wells for the water supply of the people in general, to plant trees on the public roads, to construct public temples and places of worship of God, to establish places of charity where the poor destitutes can be provided with foodstuff, and similar activities are called Purta. Similarly, the process of fulfilling the natural desires for sense gratification was also inquired about by the king for the benefit of all concerned. Text 22. Yovanushayi nam sarga pashandasya cha sambhavaha atmano bandhamokshau cha vivasthanam swarupataha. Please also explain how, merged in the body of the Lord, living beings are created, how the infidels appear in the world. Also, please explain how the unconditioned living entities exist. Merged in the body of the Lord. Anushayi nam महाप्रलय ईश्वरे लीन उपाधीनां जीवानां सर्ग इति साधक भक्तानां च साधन सिद्धि जिज्ञासाया. This merging into the body of the Lord refers to merging the upadhis. That means the um, karmic reactions, the subtle bodies, and so on. Not really subtle body, but basically the account. Each conditioned soul has a particular account. His vasanas, all of these. That is merged into the Supreme Lord at the time of the Great Dissolution, Mahapralaya. This is the question that is relevant for the sadhaka bhaktas in their inquiries about sadhana and siddhi in devotional service. Pashandasya iti bhakti asambhava jigyasaya. The question about the pashanda is in whom is devotion service impossible? Atmanaha mayas prishta jivasya. And the question about the different living entities is about the jiva that is touched by Maya. It's touched by Maya. Why does it say like that? Bandhamoksha viti bhakti mishra jnane, jnana mishrayam bhakto va. The question about the state of conditioned nature, the state of the liberated nature, these are relevant to Bhakti Mishra Jnana or Jnana Mishra Bhakti. Swarupato Vyavasthanam. This Vyavasthanam Swarupataha, being situated in one's unconditioned position. Teva Sada Maya Sparshi Shunyasi Nityamuktasya Vishwaksena Ader. Sena Ader. Jivasya Nitya Bhakto. This is a question pertaining to the eternal devotion service executed by living entities like Vishnu, who are Nitya Muktas and who are devoid of the very touch of Maya at all points in time. You can see all of them pertain to the science of bhakti. This also explains why Shukadeva Goswami's answers are all revolving around devotion service to the Lord. Achyutanam Prabhu.
Prabhu, When this soldier example was given for uh, in that preaching and fighting in the field, and then soldier, even if he dies, is glorious. So what is this death compared to for a devotee? Like if he is preaching in the field, he gets success, means he is successful. He dies means,
His preaching is not successful.
but he is himself still practicing Krishna consciousness. He has not left.
Yeah, of course. If even if I go back to that soldier example, we are talking about soldiers who continue to be patriotic to that country. If he switches his allegiance, then immediately he is considered to be engaged in betraying the loyalty, and orders will be given to shoot him dead. So the reason why a soldier is glorified even after his death is because he is patriotic. Because he is patriotic. Even in the face of defeat, he has not lost his patriotism. Therefore, he is honored. The same way here also.
And it was told pure devotee, it means the properly trained soldier.
One who is executing pure devotion service, that kind of soul, as long as he is on the status of purity. The progressive devotee of the Lord must inquire from the bona fide spiritual master how the living entities merged in the body of the Lord again come back at the time of creation. There are two kinds of living entities. There are the ever liberated, unconditioned living beings as well as the ever conditioned living beings. Of the ever conditioned living beings, there are two divisions. They are the faithful and the infidels. Of the faithful, there are again two divisions, namely the devotees and the mental speculators, jnanis. The mental speculators desire to merge into the existence of the Lord or to become one with the Lord, whereas the devotees of the Lord desire to keep separate identities and constantly engage in the service of the Lord. The devotees who are not fully purified, as well as the empiric philosophers, become conditioned again during the next creation for further purification. Such conditioned souls become liberated by further progress of devotional service to the Lord. Maharaj Parikshit asked all these questions from the bona fide spiritual master in order to become fully equipped in the science of God. Now, one thing is clear in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, description of sadhana bhakti, there is one item called Sadharma Pricha. One should inquire about Bhagavata Dharma. And sometimes devotees ask, what is this? But this is what it is. See how many questions he's asking about Tattva, Sadhya, Sadhana, or Pramana even. Anything that's relevant to accept the process by which one can attain sadhana siddhi in Bhakti Yoga. X23. यथात्मतंत्रो भगवान विक्रीडत्यात्म मायया विसृज्य वा यथा मायाम उदास्ते साक्षिवद विभुः. The independent personality of Godhead enjoys his pastimes by his internal potency and at the time of annihilation gives them up to the external potency and he remains a witness to it all. Vidvam क्रीडति सृष्ट्यादि समये विसृज्य महाप्रलये त्यक्त्वा. So at the time of creation and so on, he engages in various sports, various pastimes. At the time of annihilation, he gives up. Yadva, alternate meaning. Atmatantro Bhagavan Shri Krishna. This independent Supreme Personality of Godhead is Shri Krishna, is none other than Shri Krishna. Anyesham avataranam avatarinascha atmatantratvepi. Vipra Balaka. Haranado Krishna ika paratan. Triya Darshanat. That independent Supreme Personality of Godhead is Sri Krishna alone, because we see that even though the Lord's own incarnations, he himself, are all self-dependent, or in other words, independent. At the time of Mahavishnu stealing the young boy born to that Vipra in Dwarka and in similar pastimes, we notice that all of these incarnations are dependent on Sri Krishna alone. We will see this in the 10th canto. Atmamaya, Yogamaya, Putana, Vadhadav, Pridati. And he also sports using his Yogamaya. For example, while killing Putana and awarding her the position of a mother, Yathava, or else. Visrajya Visheshena Srishtva, Maushaladau, Udyantam. What is this? Udaste. Correct. Udaste. Sakshivan, not Sakshi. This Visrajiva Yathamayam Udaste Sakshiva Vibhu, the second half of this verse, can also be taken as a reference to the Lord's disappearance pastime. In the 11th canto, how Lord Shri Krishna disappeared, that's called Mausala pastime. So at that time, he specifically creates this pastime and he himself remains with indifference as if he's a mere witness, even though he's not that. Lord Shri Krishna, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead and fountainhead of all other incarnations, is the only independent person. He enjoys his pastimes by creation as he desires and gives them up to the external energy at the time of annihilation. By his internal potency only, he kills the demon Putana, even though enjoying his pastimes in the lap of his mother Yashoda. And when he desires to leave this world, he creates the pastimes of killing his own family members Yadukula and remains unaffected by such annihilation. He is a witness of everything that is happening, and yet he has nothing to do with anything. He is independent in every respect. Maharaj Parikshit desired to know more perfectly. For a pure devotee ought to know well. Okay, I think text 24 is scheduled for the next session. Right? All right, fine. We will close with that. Shatapudarvyascha Kripasindubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.